They were punished because an airplane landed on the highway. Their answer is you should have left earlier. You should have left earlier. What do you mean? How early should I leave? Should I just walk?
How?
Should I mean,
Yeah,
how early should I leave? I
I
mean,
know.
I
Like
leave an
it
hour
seems
early every day. I leave an hour.
just in
I get
case.
there an hour early. Yes, ma'am. Just because I'm paranoid as heck that something's going to happen, and even then, something could still
That would
happen.
be me
And,
too. I'm like that as
I
well.
mean,
Just,
and
you're
it's
scared
not fair. It's
guilty.
not fair.
Always.
Like you just said,
No,
this is
it isn't.
2025. You can go to my Google Maps. You can see where I'm sitting. Here sits Bruce
Yeah.
in his car. Here's all the red around him where he can't go anywhere. He can't go forward,
Yeah.
backwards, left or right. He's stuck. He's not intentionally doing,
That's right.
and he's 45 minutes early. So if he wasn't stuck, he would be actually 45 minutes later. But instead,
Yeah.
he will be late.
She, she says, I left an hour early. I know you did. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's
Yeah,
awful.
that is very frustrating for those of us. Now, here's the thing. With most people with substance abuse disorder, there is an underlying issue that drives the substance abuse. Getting to
Yeah.
that is the key to having sobriety. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to understand that the females in the program, to make it more general, for people in substance abuse issues, male and female, if they're deep in addiction, to get into this program, to get locked up, to get arrested, whatever happens, you pretty much have to hit a rock bottom. The rock bottom for a male is different than a rock bottom for a female. Most cases. Most females' rock bottom is
Usually.
a little bit further down than most men's, sadly, because of what goes out there. It's not 100%. I'm not trying to stereotype or generalize, but in our program, I'd say about 8 out of 10 of the females I've known for years, and they were out there on the street doing what girls in addiction do on the street to try and maintain their addiction. And their rock bottom is different than a male's. And because they can keep
Yeah.
doing those things until they can't, they could sell themselves to somebody for some amount of money for a lot longer than a man could come up with a way to make money to sustain his habit. So the man ends up robbing things, stealing things, and gets arrested quicker. Their rock bottom is not as far. They're both in the same amount of trouble. They're both in prison or jail. They both are locked up. But one person's addiction got way deeper than the other person's. And how did the female get there? What happened to her in her life? If you took every single female in this program and went to their childhood to now, at least 8 out of 10 were abused in some way sexually growing up,
Yeah.
or recently, or continually, or like C-PTSD their whole lives. And it's gut wrenching
Yeah.
and heartbreaking. But it is a lot of their substance abuse comes from that, and then it only got
They
worse.
say they
And
say
that's not
one
being
in
addressed.
three women are sexually abused in childhood. I actually think it's higher than
I
that
think it's higher. I think it's higher than
because
that.
there's
I
a
actually
lot
think
of
it's higher than that.
it's
I think it's
probably
absolutely higher than that.
75%
I would say you're
if I were
exactly.
to take an educated guess, just because
I think you're
most
spot
women
on, Angela.
don't talk about it.
No,
They don't talk about
no,
it because
no.
of the
Lots of reasons
stigma,
why.
because of the there are most of the reasons why are because shame and fear of being
Guilt, shame,
blamed.
blamed,
Yep.
blamed. They've
Yep.
compartmentalized. They've stuck it somewhere in the back of their brain, and they don't want to address it ever again because if they do, they'll
Nobody
break them
will ever
down.
believe them.
Yeah. When I was a drill sergeant in the Army, we had joint training, male and female, and I was in charge of the female bay because God has a sense of humor. He decided he'd put that on me. And and at the
Okay.
beginning, and I have 2 daughters. That's also because God has a sense of humor. He's remembering he's remembering my youth, and he says, "I'll show you. How about this? How about this?" So
Girls
and,
are
and
hard.
yes, they are. And I did really well. I had no complaints and never got in trouble. So that meant I had to keep doing it because a lot of the other drill sergeants and other units got in trouble with the females. They just couldn't handle the power. And so at the beginning of every class, we start out with this information sheet, your biography, and it tells us who you are, what you are, and all that. And we ask you to write a paragraph at the end of it. It's entirely up to you how much you write, but just in general, why you joined the military. What brought you here? What are you doing? I would sit there and review every single one of them. Easily, 7 out of 10 females, at some point in the why they joined the military thing was some form of sexual abuse that drove them to come to the military. And I remember just getting all emotional, upset, because I was in my late 20s when I was a drill sergeant and going, oh my God, I knew it was bad, but is it really this bad? that 7 out of 10 of these
Yes,
girls have been
it
abused in
is.
some way. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And that was my first dose. I
Yes,
knew
it
it was
is.
bad, but that was my first reality as a man who had daughters, that just how bad out there it really was. Matter of fact, I went back and spoke to my daughters years later going, hey, did anything ever happen to you you never told me about? Yeah. And they always said nothing ever happened, and I hope not. And I hope they just did not tell people. I hope I was one of the lucky fathers and blessed, my children were the blessed girls that it didn't happen to, because you want to talk about a way of messing with a young woman's mind. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine. I don't imagine how it changes who they are. I don't believe a female gets to be who they were meant to be as a female adult, because if that happened in their lifetime, they never get to be that person they were meant to be. It changes them that much. They might be a very successful adult. They might be great and wonderful things. They might be doctors, lawyers, they could be anything. But they won't be exactly who they were meant to be initially, because that has a change on them that is life altering forever.
And it could be
And male
it
too,
could
if
be
it happens
one
to a male.
incident. It could be more than one incident. I think it affects males and females a little bit differently. I mean, I know that it affects males severely too, but in different ways, right?
Different ways.
Females,
Different
males
ways.
respond different.
Different ways.
So with the
It's
female, you
a lot
got the
less frequent.
complication.
Yeah,
You got
a lot
the
less
complication
frequent.
of the brain in the female, plus then you got the complication of all the different hormones, right? The males are a little bit easier to understand, which is why medical research didn't include females until the mid-90s or something like that, which is crazy.
That
They're
is
just
crazy.
like little males. No, we're not at all like little males.
Not even close. Not even close.
No, because the hormones play a huge part in the way that everything works, including, treatments and
Yep.
all different kinds of
Everything.
things.
All
So
of it.
very important to include females in the research, but I guess it was too difficult, too complex.
We kind of went flying off the rails there, but what I was getting at
Yeah,
was
that's all right.
I've gone backwards in my personal health, my mental health with my PTSD during the time that I've been in this
Yeah.
program, and I know I have, and my doctors know I have, and we talk about it. And the minute I graduate in November, the wheels go up in the
November.
aircraft, and I'm going right back to Florida, right back to Madeira Beach, right back to Bay Pines, going right back in that program, and hopefully can get back to where I was, and at least keep
Yeah.
going. But I'm not going to be back there where I was just because I show back up there. I have reverted. I've had more anger. I've had more rage outbursts in the last 3 months than I've had in the last 3 years. The last
Do you
3
think
months I've
that
had
has
3 of them.
something? Do you think that has something to do with your most recent accident, though, as well? Maybe.
Some of it.
That was
Some of
about
it. Yeah, it's created more stress.
that
It's created
long
more
ago?
stress. 2 months. 2 months ago. It created more stress. I mean, when you have a life-altering moment, when you're working full-time, you're in great physical shape, the program's clipping along, financially you're getting to a point where you're doing really good because you're starting to really make good money on top of the money you already get, and your lifestyle is increasing. Because I came here, I had nothing again. I had to sell everything. I had to get rid of everything. I came off the plane with my 2 bags and in a hotel room, and I got to a point where I had my own place, my own vehicle, everything getting back, and then all of a sudden, back down to nothing.
Boom.
Well, not nothing. Thank God I had my check. But I was broken from head to toe, and I didn't know where it was going. When I woke up I stayed awake the whole time. When I got to ICU, and I was sitting there dealing with how broken I was and being told the extent of how broken I was and the pain I was in, despite all the medications they were pumping in me, I was like, wow, uh-oh. And at that time, the prognosis wasn't that good. It was all ifs and buts and maybes. It was all, well, we hope one day, after about a year, you might get to about 80% of what you once were and be pain-free. That's our goal. I'm like, that's our goal? A year later to be 80%? Maybe? Oh my goodness. This is a person who's
And you're
been
going,
blessed his whole
no,
life.
it's going to be quicker than that.
I didn't know. I was scared. I was in such. I did not know. I've never suffered anything like this. To have 16 broken ribs
Yeah.
simultaneously. Oh my goodness! And I partially collapsed lung and everything. I mean, I was hurting in so many places. I didn't know what was hurting. I was just hurting, and I was taking more medications and more things to help with pain, and they were helping. I had 2 catheters. to where what's it called, when a woman is having childbirth and They do a block.
The epidural.
Epidural. The same exact thing, except mine was in the upper spine to numb up the whole
Spinal
thing.
tap. They
I
also
had
do
two
a
of them.
spinal tap.
To shoot the lanacane down in me and to numb out my whole my whole body simultaneously to the Dilaudid, simultaneously to the oxycodone, simultaneously to the Tramadol, simultaneously to because they didn't know how to handle my pain either. They were like, we don't normally get you, we don't see you in here,